I'll call to order this meeting of the East Hampton Planning Board for Tuesday, September 20th, 2016. Is there anybody here to speak to anything that is not on the agenda tonight?
Crickets.
All right. Turning to our minutes from our meeting for September 9th. Everybody have a chance to look them over?
Yes.
Any comments, questions, corrections?
I motion to approve the minutes from September 9th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right.
Say I accept that.
No A&Rs, no old business, so moving on to new business. Site plan approval for 2 Pine Street, Sabrina Marsh. Want to come up and give us a little overview of what's going on?
Thanks for being here for me tonight. So 2 Pine Studio is a space on Pine Street just off of Cottage Street, and we have actually been in the space and we're not aware of all of the procedures that we needed to follow, and now are here to follow what we're supposed to do. So we are a shared studio space. We have between 3 and 6 full-time people in the space. At most, we've had 6. And then some part-time membership folks who come a couple nights a week. We have participated in Art Walk and would like to continue doing that, and anticipate that retail is something that we may delve into at some point.
So right now there's 4 to 6 artists in there using it mostly for studio space. Do you do any sort of retail at all right now, or?
Just on art walks and an open studio, but otherwise we've gone out to events where we all sort of act as sole proprietors. 2 Pines really an umbrella as far as a space under which we all do our work.
And what kind of stuff are you guys doing?
Making jewelry, collage, painting, sewing, pretty benign.
And other than Art Walk and open studio stuff, do you have people like come in like customers or people to look on a regular basis, or it's
No.
mostly just studio space?
No, because the space is small,
Yep.
and so we really need that space to not be interrupted.
Yeah.
And so it's really only when we invite people in. Otherwise, I mean, outside of a sign that will be on the door, we're not going to have people coming in on a regular basis. And I don't anticipate that changing. I mean, outside of occasional weekends and things, I can't imagine that the space is going to ever be one that could be open all the time.
The application said retail pop-up. What precisely do you mean by that?
So thinking like along the lines of if it were around the holidays, Mother's Day, a one-shot kind of a thing, or it's a weekend and we have things ready that have been out at a craft fair, let's say, and through maybe social media or an advertisement we would say we'll be available on this one day for people to come and look.
People to come inside. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any sort of unusual waste or anything that's generated through this stuff, either paints or doing the jewelry making?
No.
Just sort of regular household garbage kind of stuff?
Totally.
Do you just use garbage cans right now in the building, or do you have a dumpster?
There's a dumpster. Well, yeah, actually there's just a regular garbage can that's shared between the 3 tenants in the building.
Okay, for the
And
other...
actually the 4th, the residential tenant shares it too.
Okay.
Shared parking lot.
Oh yeah, the issue with the parking. Jess, do you want to explain that a little bit with off-street parking?
So, it's my assessment, even though I can't find official documentation, but I think the building has been there since 1973. Maybe those that have lived in the community for longer than I can attest to that. But, so we do have that parking exemption. They are downtown business, so based on what I can find for records, I would think that they would qualify for the exemption. If you determine that they don't, then there needs to be some sort of off-street parking. So the question is, like, how does the parking work with the shared tenants? How many spaces do they have dedicated right now? If I guess for me, the question is if they ever go to retail, you know, does there need to be some sort of off-street parking? But if they fall under the exemption, then they're not regulated to need to do that. But there have been other cases where you've required off-street parking for downtown business.
My thought personally is if the planning department thinks that it's likely that they predate the 1973 date, then
Yes, they usually.
I don't see any reason not to believe that, but
I
Does
concur with
anybody
you.
else?
And moreover, the amount of traffic we're talking about seems fairly minimal.
I would even add, just during like Art Walk, a lot of people walk the street and then come back. So the parking spaces in the lot are most often used by us.
yeah. Any deliveries or anything like that you guys get there that are out of the ordinary or anything like that?
Just bills. And the Summit.
Well, your product, how do you get your product through certain deliveries?
We bring it there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Each of you is bringing your own stuff from, yeah.
Oh, that's easy.
I guess I'll go briefly through these. It doesn't look like most of the criteria actually apply here. Conformance with the provisions of the ordinances of the City of East Hampton, the general laws, and all applicable rules and regulations. That doesn't seem to be a problem here. Protection of city amenities and abutting properties. That doesn't seem to have an issue. Convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movement. I think that it doesn't sound like there's going to be much driving or pedestrian movement, right? So that doesn't seem to be.
Pokemon Go is the most activity that we've
That's-
seen behind the Besco's building, I have to say.
I
Adequacy.
caught a Pidgey there once.
Did you?
I did.
I don't want anybody to know.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a Pokemon inside of our studio.
That could be a big draw.
I want it out.
Want it out?
Adequacy of methods of disposal and sewage and refuse. That seems to be pretty typical. No issue with protecting wetlands or watersheds. Mitigating adverse impacts on the city's resources. There's no like use of water or anything that's kind of like out of the ordinary or anything for any of the artists.
No, just a sink.
Off-street loading and unloading of vehicles doesn't seem to apply here. No issue with integrating the development into the existing landscape or removal of vegetation. And the consistency of the development with setback area, parking, architectural style, that all seems to be a non-issue unless people have questions or other concerns.
I did go by there, and I was, wondering about lighting, but there's so much street lighting right there.
Yeah, there's a motion sensor light just outside of the overhang from our door, so that when it's dark, that goes off, and then there's lighting in the back of the Dave Primo's building.
All right.
I motion to approve the site plan approval for 2 Pine Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition, abstentions? All right.
Thank you.
So what do we got for a decision timeline here, Jessica?
I can probably turn it around within the next week and a half. So I'll email you, Sabrina, when the decision's drafted, I'll email you a copy, and I'll mail you a copy. Okay, you're all set?
Thank you.
Good
Thank
luck,
you.
thank you. All right,
Pokemon.
we do not have any signed ordinance to discuss.
Yeah,
Or
my
any-
apologies.
That's fine.
To
And
whip you with a wet noodle.
Yes.
we did get that email about the CPTC stuff, right? They
Yes.
emailed out this week, so
Yes.
if people want to sign up for that.
And then I
Your budget
did,
this year?
I'd have to check on that. Good question. I don't think so, but I might have been able to sneak some money back in. I just have to remember how much it was. I'll check on that and I'll get back to you. And then the one other thing that we talked about last meeting in regards to fees, so I asked the mayor what the process is for the board to change fees, so, it's just a discussion by the board and a vote, and then that goes to the mayor for approval. So it doesn't go to city council or anything like that, but it's just a matter of the board discussing, making a motion, voting on it, and then sending it to the
So we
mayor.
had, I can't remember what we were looking at, the other cities and towns in the area, right? And that had their fee as well as their process, so
Yep.
do you have a
So I
recommendation?
got the final report for the industrial zoning project that we did with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. I'll drop that into the Dropbox.
Nice.
It also gonna put it on the city's website as well. And in there's an analysis of fees, but I think what I need to do with Jamie in our department is to figure out how much time it actually takes us to process
Right.
an application, in terms of the abutter notification, department heads, that kind of thing. And then based on that, times our hourly wages, come up with something that makes sense. I'm thinking that we may want to keep the site plan approval cost around $100 because it's typically we're having small businesses that are coming in for downtown and I don't want to put additional burden on them. We may want to think about special permit and whether there's some sort of calculation based on new square footage or whatever it is. If there's something
what I was
besides
thinking.
just a flat number, whether, depending on the intensity of the development proposal, is the cost of the application more. So for instance, Chem Meadow, because they were building a 30,000 square foot addition, would have an additional permit cost because there is more time and more review
Right.
on the staff time in terms of information coming and going and getting that information out to the board. So there's more legwork from a staff point of view with those bigger projects than there is for something small.
The
Like,
sliding scale would be more than just footage though, because it's really about how much work you're doing.
right, so we have to sort of think about what the indicators would be or what the triggers would be in order to change that dollar amount. Typically, it's based on square footage. We don't see a ton of projects that are brand new, so we typically are seeing reuse of existing buildings. So it just, stuff to think about.
Yeah. I'd be
I'll come up with
curious
a
to see-
proposal.
Yeah.
Let me think about it, come up with a proposal, and then we can discuss it.
And we should probably make it an agenda item so
Oh,
people
yeah,
know they
absolutely.
can come and
Oh, absolutely.
talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
Nope.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in
third,
favor?
fourth.
Aye.
Aye.
Nobody wants to
All
go,
right.
they all want to stay.
Thank you all. Well done, team.